I'm going to show you how to do a balustrade with parallel mitered railings and balusters in between. And it's not as simple as you think, so hang in there. Alright, so I'm just going to try and explain what I'm doing here. I've got my top balcony rail in, as you can see, and then I've got a story pole clamped onto the two posts. And what I wanted to explain to you here is that normally, I mean, if this was a bigger recess on the balcony, I would have a newel post here and then a newel post at the corner where the balcony rail starts. Issue being that if I did that, I'd end up with about a 4 or 5 inch piece of railing between the two posts, and it would look really busy. So what I've decided to do is do a mitered top and bottom railing so that the rail itself will be about 36 inches up from the finished stairs, and then at the transition where this point here is on the staircase, the railing will then be mitered so there'll be a little piece horizontal. These markings here will kind of explain it. This mark right here is exactly in line with the edge of that nosing. And I've ensured that my rake is exactly parallel to the line of the stairs. So I've got 37 inches up from the rake line at the bottom post to the top of this story pole. And look where 37 inches comes here. And that's because I'm that far back from the rake of the stairs. And if you check out my video on balustrade layout, that explains exactly why that is happening. So in any case, what I'm going to do is at this point here, in line with that nosing, be a miter in the railing, and then it'll be a little section of railing running right over to this line on the post. Now, the other thing I'll have to show you is that the bottom of the grooved rail will have to line up with the top of the bottom rail over here for the balusters to be lined up. So I'll show you what that looks like, but they won't exactly be identical. The stub on the bottom rail will be shorter than the stub on the top rail. Okay, so this is what goes into every mitered railing that I do. So we've got a Lamello Invis element in one piece of the joint, and on the other piece is called a stud. And that is the receiver. That is a magnetic joiner, and I'll show you how that'll turn. I put an 8x50 mil domino into the joint as well, and then it'll be glued up. This is just a dry fit right now, and I'll just show you how that goes together. And then where the horizontal piece of railing fits into the post, I've got a slip fix rail bolt from Zip Bolt that will go into a receiver on the post, and then I tighten it up with a hex bit from the bottom. Okay, so I'll just show you how this Lamello Invis system works. I've got the magnet on the top of the railing. I've got a cordless drill on max RPM. So you can see how turning that magnet will turn that screw. Now I'm just going to put this together and do a dry fit. And we'll just tighten that up. Okay, so that's tight enough for the dry fit, and then we'll see how that works between our two posts. All right, so I've made up my top railing and I've cut it a little bit long and I've got it in place. The newel post is nice and plumb at the top here, so I am just going to make a nice line here for cutting, same at the bottom. All right, so I took this railing apart. The beauty of the Lamello Invis is that you can undo them, and I put in my slip fix rail bolt, gear housing, and shaft. It's important to do that, of course, while you have the railing apart, because it's really difficult to do after it's glued up. So just going to glue this up and let it set before I install it. All right, so this is where this railing is going to fit. And what I wanted to show you is how this bottom rail fits into the top rail. And that is because your balusters have to run between the two railings. So this top side of the railing is the same distance as this short side of the angle. So if you were to make the two railings exactly the same, then this joint would be over here somewhere. It wouldn't work. So just like the process for the top rail, the bottom rail is cut to length and then dry fit and then removed to take back to the shop to mortise the holes for the steel balusters. All right, I've got one more mortise to do, and it's right on the edge of this miter. And I'm going to use a square hole punch, 1/2 inch diameter, that I bought at Lee Valley, and I'll leave a link in the description for this tool. And you basically use this anywhere you need to make a mortise, and you use a wooden hammer or some kind of hammer that's not steel, so you don't mess up or mushroom the top end of this punch. And what I've done is I bought a 29/64 drill bit, and it's actually a brad point bit, and I've got that set up. I also got that from Lee Valley. So what you do is you punch this, get the mortise started, and then you insert the drill bit and drill out the middle, and it works really good. I've done it actually on existing stair treads, on staircases that are hardwood, and you know it's a really good little tool to have in your toolbox. All right, I'll just clean this hole out with the chisel, 1/4-inch chisel. I think I'll do that a little bit deeper. There we are. All right, so you can see that as a really clean looking hole, and it's pretty much the same as every other hole I've mortised with the mortise machine. So good option. There we go. And then, oh, staple. There we go. Nice. Okay, good. All right, so here's how that system works with the railings designed so that that last baluster on the horizontal is right in line with that joint. And that is the easiest way to finish this, is simply have that baluster right on the very edge at the bottom and the very edge of the angle at the top.